We just have to glance outside the window and see all these people. Different features, different races, different accents and nationalities, crossing each other in the intersecting web of life. Australia proclaimed itself a land of immigration. And since the abolition of the white policy, we can see all cultures and colours flourishing in the country. But does that really make Australia a multicultural place, as it is claimed on TV or in the newspapers?
From my experience, I'll probably call Australia more of a multicultural communities living side by side rather than having a multicultural community.
We have a lot of communities and a lot of people from different cultures, but people don't necessarily interact.
They are mixed somewhat already in Australia, which is actually quite nice. So you do have the multiculturalism here of different communities.
It is a multicultural country because from what we can see, basically the Chinese places we have around this place, Vietnamese.
Certain communities that would like to keep their own communities separate.
The Asians kind of stick around with the Asians themselves, and the Indians.
If you're from a particular community and you try and interact with people from other communities, you find it very difficult.
In terms of Indonesian community, they do have a close community, but they do not like to interact too closely to each other.
The Kenyan community tends to be very isolated here. They tend to stick to each other, and if you're an outsider, for example, and you want to interact with them and you go for a function, you'll find that a lot of them speak the local languages more than they do English.
Sometimes, well, most of the times actually, I think they too themselves kind of tend to stick around their own, like people from their own nationalities. One of the stories that I can tell you, my cousin, and I just tagged along with her. And apparently the neighbor was a Bangladeshi as well. So she kind of started giving me looks. And I couldn't figure out why. So after a while I started speaking in Bangla and she was like, "Oh, you're Bangladeshi." I was like, "Yes, I am." And she was like, "Yeah, that's why I was thinking, what is she doing with an Aussie guy?" So I was like, even if I was an Aussie guy, you know, what's wrong with that?
They don't have a practical need to interact with people outside of their communities.
Some cultural groups are more friendly and willing to, more open and willing to share and embrace new cultures, and others are very biased and insular.
There seems to be some research evidence to suggest that some cultures are a little more suspicious of outsiders. Within collectivistic communities, there is a strong in-group bias often, that there is collectivism, but it's oriented towards people who are perceived as part of the in-group.
And I think the subsequent generation who actually grow up in Australia and they learn all the sort of nomenclature of Australian life and even speak like fair dinkum or dinky die Aussie, as they say. So they become hybrids, right? So cultural hybrids.
People who are second or third generation migrants, especially the younger people, seem to assimilate.
Mentioned earlier, a particular perception that being Australian equals being a person of Anglo-Celtic background. There's one or two, politicians who are of migrant background, probably Italian or Greek, but there isn't quite the sort of that variety of faces that you'll see on TV, or even on TV too.
Despite what I can read in the newspapers, Australia doesn't seem multicultural for me. The first advice I got when I arrived here was to find people like me. I'm French, I'm Algerian, I'm Muslim, I'm an Arab, I'm an African. I'm a European too. Where's my place according to these people? With whom do you interact the most here in Australia?
So basically my friends are all international communication friends.
Most of my friends are from China.
Normally I'll interact
with my Thai friend because we have the same culture.
The people from my community, like the Chinese friends.
Indonesian and the Chinese.
Oh, I think Asian people.
Most of them are come from Asian countries.
Mainly Norwegians, I guess.
I could say that I interact with a lot of different cultures, mainly Filipino.
Most of my friends actually come from Thailand.